What's poppin', y'all? Back in 2017, I did a video about the first ever XXL Freshman List and seeing where they were at the time. And I think I had like maybe 70 subscribers when I dropped that video, but it's one of my best. It will be in the description. I figured I could make another mini-series just going through each XXL Freshman List throughout the years and seeing how the rappers have held up over time and where they are now. Because one of the main reasons for the freshman list was to highlight rising stars that would dominate for a long time to come and influence a new generation, and we can see how things have changed over the years and if rappers really do have a shorter shelf life now than they did back then. Today is going to be the 2009 list because they skipped 2008. If you like analysis and historical videos on hip hop and rap, then subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. I upload at minimum twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I only have social media to interact with you guys. I pretty much barely ever used it before. The 2009 XXL Freshman List consisted of Wale, B.o.B, Charles Hamilton, Asher Roth, Cory Gunz, Blue, Mickey Fax, Ace Hood, Curreny, and Kid Cudi. Now, even for some of you who started listening or getting into hip-hop later, maybe in 2012 or 2013, you should know at least like 4 of these names. The first is Wale. Wale got noticed early back in 2007 and signed by multiple Grammy Award-winning producer Mark Ronson, who produced the hit song you definitely know, Uptown Funk. In 2008, he would release one of the most unique projects at the time, the mixtape About Nothing, produced mostly by Best Kept Secret. Wale is a huge fan of the show Seinfeld, and he takes the way the show was written and adopts it so you can hear the influence throughout his songwriting, making different references to what's going on at the time, and not really talking about any gangsta topics or usual rap topics. The critics love this mixtape, and it's likely what got him onto the freshman list because he wouldn't drop his debut album, Attention Deficit, until after the list was already chosen, and it sold 28,000 first week, but his team was saying that the record label didn't ship enough copies of the album. Regardless, this album had some huge features and was pretty good. Wale was only just heating up though. In 2010, he would release More About Nothing, the follow-up mixtape, signing to MMG in 2011, and dropping the album that really brought him to the next level and maybe even peak of his career, that was Ambition, in 2011, selling 162,000 copies first week and debuting at number 2, a huge jump from his first album. He would have a successful rap career despite being clowned on Twitter as being a trash rapper in the year 2014, and continuing to be the joke of social media, but even 6 years later, in 2015, when he released the album About Nothing, it debuted at number 1 on the charts, selling 88,000 copies first week. Wale isn't the hottest rapper anymore, of course not, but his career is still alive and kicking in 2019. Nobody can say they haven't heard of him, so XXL definitely hit the nail on the head with this pick, because they chose him in 2009, and he would continue to blow up until 2013, and then remain having a successful career until today, a whole decade later. Second is B.o.B, which is another rapper they had on this list who didn't even release his debut album yet. He had a single, Haters Everywhere, that was doing some decent numbers and was added to the game Fight Night Round 4, and the song I'll Be in the Sky. But if I had to guess the reason XXL threw him on the list, it would be those songs, but more importantly, his single, Don't Let Me Fall, and him being featured on the song On Top of the World, alongside Ludacris for T.I.'s Paper Trail album. His output was also crazy, releasing 4 mixtapes and 2 EPs from the years 2007 to 2008, but it wouldn't be until after he made the XXL Freshman List that B.o.B would really start blowing up to the next level. He started saying he wanted to be called Bobby Ray, and dropped the mixtape B.o.B vs. Bobby Ray, which is a great project. In my video about B.o.B, I recommended you guys listen to it, and I still do. Of course, on his debut album, The Adventures of Bobby Ray, is when we saw B.o.B catapult into huge mainstream success, with the song Airplanes featuring Hayley Williams, that would get a remix with Eminem, and then the album Strange Clouds, with the huge song Both of Us featuring Taylor Swift. The critics loved this album, and it was pretty good for a pop rapper, but didn't compare to the initial release in my opinion. B.o.B was a singles artist back in this time. Neither his first or second album sold over 100k first week, but his singles always pushed numbers. His sales would really tank when it came to the underground luxury album that only sold 35K first week, and was basically venturing into trap music, something the fans of B.o.B weren't too fond of. Since then, B.o.B has gotten attention mostly from him being a vegan and flat earther, arguing with Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he was still releasing music with his Elements series, Fire, Earth, Air, and Water, and his album in 2015 that I thought was great, Psychedelic Thoughts, and his most recent release being Naga in 2018. B.o.B has definitely fallen off the mainstream level. He's not that chart-topping singles artist anymore, but he's still got a rap career. Another rapper that blew up years after he made the XXL list. Third is Charles Hamilton, and I don't think I've even heard this name since he was on a song with B.o.B way back in 2010. In 2008, Hamilton released 2 mixtapes, Crash Landed and Outside Looking, and announced he was signed to Interscope Records. He would have an idea called the Hamiltonization process, in which he planned on releasing 8 mixtapes. Death of the Mixtape Rapper, and then they played Dilla, Staff Development, It's Charles Hamilton, The L Word, Sonic the Hamilton, Intervention, and then the last being his debut album that he would release independently due to disagreements with his label, The Pink Lava Lamp. This was all done in a span of a couple of months, from the first release in September to the last being on December 8th, 2008. The Pink Lava Lamp is what really got him attention as being the best project, with reviewers and critics loving it, but the consistent output got him a strong fan base that helped get him on the XXL Freshman Class for 2009. This is where everything turned into a mess for Charles Hamilton. He still hadn't released his major label debut, This Perfect Life, and he even had a release date and dropped an EP to promote it, but he was dropped from Interscope Records. Hamilton would later release it on his own in September of 2009. He would have projects that were shelved, leak over the years, and he would have some crazy outbursts on social media that got him a lot of negative attention, which later came out to him having what they're calling bipolar disorder. He admitted he had a drug addiction to marijuana, heroin, and mushrooms, and checked himself into a mental hospital in 2010. Even after getting out, there was another situation that same year in 2010 where he crashed his father's girlfriend's car that he didn't have permission to drive and was doing so without a license. Then he walked into the Quicken Loans Arena where the Cavaliers play and was playing imaginary basketball with fans that were leaving. And a cop asks him what the hell he's doing, and he tries to play with them. He pretends to guard him. He crosses over the cop, who falls, and then another cop turns around. He probably thought he attacked him or something, so he grabbed his arm, and then, boom, Hamilton punches him. He would post bail for this. He would be signed to Republic Records in 2015, but his career was long over. You ask anybody today who Charles Hamilton is, and they'll either ask you, whatever happened to that guy, or, who? Fourth is Asher Roth, who was initially managed by Scooter Braun, the same manager for Justin Bieber. He would move to Atlanta and release his first mixtape with Don Cannon and DJ Drama titled The Greenhouse Effect Volume 1, but the song that likely got him picked for the freshman list of 2009 is the lead single for his debut album released in January 2009, I Love College. It's safe to say that Asher Roth was a one-hit wonder, because whenever his name is mentioned, this is the song that automatically comes into the mind, and probably the only song. It was the anthem for every frat kid across America, and it wasn't a bad song. He would drop his debut album, Asleep in the Bread Aisle, on April 20th, 2009, because of the whole 420 thing, and even toured with Blink-182 that same fall. Asher Roth still raps and has a small core fan base, but he peaked the same year he made this list, and has only fallen off since then. Halfway through is Cory Gunz, who has been a glorified feature rapper for his entire career after making this list. He would self-release his own mixtape series, The Apprentice, with 3 installments, The Militia, and The Best Kept Secret. He got featured on the remix of Rihanna's song, If It's Lovin' That You Want, and was originally on A Milli in the leaked version that didn't make it to the album. I really have no idea how he made this list. It might have been the New York bias since he is from the Bronx, but Cory Gunz didn't even start getting poppin', if you want to call it that, until the 2010s. The highlight of his career is being a feature on Lil Wayne's hit song 6 Foot 7 Foot on the Carter 4 album and being on Young Money compilation albums. He was on Dedication 6, and it looks like we only hear from him when Young Money is releasing something. I don't know if this was a bad pick by XXL, because he did blow up and peak 2 years after he made the list, but he's also never had his own fan base or ever released even a debut album, and it's been 10 years. So, at the same time, it's a trash pick. Number 6 is Blue. This is an interesting pick. The album he's remembered for most is Below the Heavens, that was done alongside the producer Exile. He was growing underground from his projects leaking, and blogs were writing about him, but the album was only pressed for a couple thousand copies, and the label even went bankrupt a couple of months after the official release of Below the Heavens. This album is still widely acclaimed, and it was a great project. Everyone who has heard it has good things to say, but it was released in 2007. It wouldn't be until 2 years later, though, that he would start getting wide acclaim and a lot more attention and hype surrounding him. People were expecting him to be the next huge rapper, but a bunch of things happened, from his second label deal going sour and him being unable to release projects until his A&R helped him leave the label and release music on his own. Blue still makes music today, and I can't say that I've heard any of his projects since maybe 2010. I thought he just quit music when I was listening to Below the Heavens about a year ago and just decided to check him out and see if he still made music, and apparently he does. XXL weren't early on Blue, and he didn't blow up after them. He has a small fan base, but his career did not go in the direction that people were expecting it to, and almost nobody knows about him today. And if they do, it's likely only for the album Below the Heavens. Number 7 is Mickey Factz, another rapper out of the Bronx in New York City. He's involved in battle rap, but was one of the early adopters of releasing free music online to build a fan base. He would release a song a week in 2008, and would build up a fan base that got him noticed enough to make it onto the Freshman List of 2009. He was even on a song with Drake back when he was just a rapper trying to make it on MySpace. Mickey Factz never blew up, and the only time I see him is when he's doing Twitter rap battles with Lupe Fiasco. Most people will also tell you they've never heard of him, so he isn't one of the huge success stories from this list. Number 8 is Ace Hood. You definitely remember him, if not for his music, then for a moment at an award show when he was trying to flex his fake bezel Rolex that just fell off his hand on live TV. He was signed to DJ Khaled's We The Best record label, and his first album, Gutta, dropped in 2008, had some star features like T-Pain, Rick Ross, Trey Songz, and was a feature on a top 40 hit by DJ Khaled, Out Here Grindin', featuring Akon, Ross, Plies, Boosie, and Trick Daddy. This would get him onto the XXL Freshman List, and he really only continued to blow up from here. His albums never selling well, with the first doing 25,000 first week and the second, Ruthless, doing 20,000 first week, but Khaled's albums never really sold well either, until recently that is. He would start hitting the Hot 100 with songs like Hustle Hard, Body to Body, and of course peaking in 2013 with his hit song Bugatti, featuring Future and Rick Ross, off his Trials and Tribulations album that would peak at number 33 on the Hot 100. This was one of the good predictions by the XXL team because Ace Hood only continued to get bigger as a singles-based rapper until DJ Khaled got on Snapchat with a career renaissance and just decided to forget about all of his signed artists. Ace Hood hasn't dropped an album since 2013, but released a 29-track mixtape titled Trust the Process 2 Undefeated that I didn't know released until working on this video, and 29 tracks of Ace Hood? No thank you. He's pretty much fell off now, but with someone who is big off singles, they can come back at any time with the right song and features. Number 9, we got Curreny, who is one of the rappers on this list who is very much alive and kicking 10 whole years later. I got a video planned on Curreny, so I won't get into too much detail here, but he was one of the original signees to Lil Wayne's Young Money record label, but that wasn't the reason he got on the list if I had to guess. He would leave the label in 2007 and release the mixtape Life at 30,000 Feet, but it was in 2008 that his output would multiply and he forced you to notice him, releasing Independence Day, Higher Than 30,000 Feet, Welcome to the Winner's Circle, Fear and Loathing in New Orleans, Super Tecmo Bowl, Fast Times at Ridgemont Fly, and Fiend. A total of 7 mixtapes that calendar year. He wouldn't have any huge mainstream hits throughout the 2010s, but he is a well-known rapper and one of the early adopters of having his own label, Jet Life, and having huge success as an independent artist before it was a well-known thing. Curreny is one of the few rappers from the early 2000s that is still well-known and talked about today, with a die-hard fan base that isn't going anywhere. So XXL definitely chose well with this pick. And last of all, we have Kid Cudi, who I've done multiple videos on that you should check out. They'll all be in the description or the cards. Being a songwriter and feature on Kanye's 808s and Heartbreak, as well as releasing his debut mixtape, A Kid Named Cudi, in 2008, he was already racking up a lot of attention after being signed to Good Music, all of which helped him get on this list. Cudi would then have huge success with the hit song Day and Night and his debut album Man on the Moon, followed up by Man on the Moon 2 and songs like Erase Me. While Cudi wouldn't reach the popularity he had with Man on the Moon until reuniting with Kanye for Kids See Ghosts, his fanbase never went anywhere and has had no problem selling out tours. Besides, he's the biggest influence for Travis Scott, who is one of the biggest rappers in the game right now. So when XXL said they were picking leaders of the new school, Kid Cudi is definitely one that panned out great for them. And that's it for the 2009 issue. Let me know in the comments if you think these were good picks by XXL looking back. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. You can also catch me on Twitch on the weekends. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can follow along with the series. Thank you for watching. Peace.